So the first thing we're going to do is a little prayer. It's tradition and how I teach, and that is this screen here. It's a Sanskrit invocation for light and learning. This prayer is ideally intoned to begin teaching sessions, meetings, and other group activities. The vibrational energy of this chant purifies the auras of those who are chanting it, the material being reviewed or studied, and the actual room for which it's being chanted. So these sounds, these Sanskrit sounds, have power to them. So here they are. We'll say them together. And what we'll do is a call response, because I know some of you won't be able to pronounce some of these Sanskrit words. So I'll say the line, and then you respond after I say the first line. Heidi knows some of these. She's already taken my Ayurvedic class. So Heidi, if you want to join me on the call response or whatever you want to do, I'm wide open. Om Sahana Vavatu. And everyone repeat after me. Om Sahana Vavatu. Om Sahana Vavatu. So everyone, Om Sahana Vavatu. Sahano Bunaktu. Sahano Bunaktu. Saha Viryam. Saha Viryam. Ready?
Saha Viryam.
Yes.
Saha Viryam.
Kavavar Vahe. Kavavar Vahe. Tejasvina. Tejasvina. Vididamastu.
Vididamastu.
Mavid Vishavahai.
Mavid Vishavahai.
And everyone can say this part together. Om Shanti.
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
And let's say the English together. Om, may he protect us. Om, may she be pleased by us. May we pursue our studies with vigor, and may they illuminate us. May there only be wisdom, learning, laughter, and compassion among us today. Om
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Peace, peace, peace is what that means. That's really what should be there. Om, peace, peace.
Yeah, I can't see any of those words that she's
doing. Can you all see the screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, okay, good. All right, let's go on to the next screen. So this basically is the forgotten language, and it is a mystical calendar. It was originally intended to be a language and a calendar. So I'm really happy to expand this to other people and teach you all so that we can all speak this language, because sometimes I'm all by myself speaking this language and it's no fun. So we created a Facebook group, and we'll develop a community, and we can start speaking this language to each other so that we can understand things that other people won't even be able to find words for. So this will be really fun. So I'll read this to you, and this is an idea for you. You can screenshot this page if you want. For you, when you're promoting yourself after you've done the 4 sessions, you want to be able to get clients. You may not be feeling confident right away, but if you feel confident enough to start getting clients, this is some good verbiage for your website. Discover the forgotten astrological oracle of the playing cards, which can reveal past lives, patterning, and archetypal stories. We explore ways to transcend karmas and challenges in order to experience an infinite field of possibilities and peace of mind. Together, we decipher the complexities of past relationships, predict windows of future romance, when money will flow, when new jobs may unfold or end, while illuminating our deepest soul's purpose. So time is circular, which is why we can see into the past and future potentials. And I've even discovered a formula for parallel lifetimes. I am so excited to share that with you. And I've counseled several clients who are going through parallel lifetimes with lovers, actually, that they don't understand why they're so attracted and why there's this glue they can't break away. And I finally, after seeing so many stories like this, so many clients with the same story, I figured out a parallel, and I got the formula, and now I can see that the reason people feel glued in some relationships is because they're literally in the relationship, maybe even married, in another lifetime in a parallel dimension. So I will give that formula to you. It's very exciting. Yeah, so once we realize the past, present, and future are all happening at the same time, this forgotten language will give rise to the power of the present moment, luminous clarity, forgiveness, and gratitude. And why I say forgiveness and gratitude is you understand why people are the way they are by understanding this language and their card, and the relationship of their card to your card is extremely insightful. And we're going to learn how to do that with composites, the theory of composite scores. Then you can understand why someone's come into your life, the flavor of the relationship, and even if it's involving past life or in this lifetime some sort of karma, which is always past life anyways, but if there's something that needs to be resolved, you'll know that by getting the composite score. So you'll start moving through judgment, moving through pointing at people and projecting and being a victim. Once you start understanding this, you no longer are a victim. You start making lemonade out of your lemons, start making sense of things, understanding things that were prior to this unexplainable. And maybe that little dialogue, well, I'm not good enough, or maybe it's my fault, or shame, and all of this dialogue that's very negative can go to the side, because then you start understanding, oh my goodness, well, it totally makes sense why I feel this way. I shouldn't judge myself because this is the flavor of the relationship. And maybe it takes two to tango, so the other person is just as accountable as you. So we'll get to that piece. It's a very exciting piece, and that's really what transformed my life and relationships that I've experienced that were like kind of conundrums, mysteries, sort of became clear to me as to why these people were in my life, even family. Okay, each birthday contains a specific vibration or solar value that supports unique tendencies, patterns, karmas, dharmas, events, personalities. It's time to see and make daily informed choices based on love, not fear. So a lot of us are just getting blindsided. And if we can learn this language, we can bring that proverbial umbrella before a storm comes. Right? So why would we want to go through life being blindsided when you have this knowledge? To me, it's changed my life. I now make decisions based on, well, if I see something coming that looks really ominous, which it happens, it's part of life, I know whether or not I want to stay home, or do I want to be vulnerable and go on a trip and have that ominous thing happen while I'm in a place I don't even know, and I'm on a vacation supposedly, and this ominous thing is happening. No, I'm not going on a vacation when I see something like something that would be really challenging occur in my life. I'll stay home on that day. So this has helped me navigate my life so that I can create a more peaceful life, making more informed choices, even preventing relationships that could have been karmic. I've been able to see that before I get myself in the middle of the hornet's nest. So I'm going to teach you all of this. This is all really important. So now we're going to go to the next, and I hear somebody in the background. I forgot to mute you all. Oh, that's right. Mute, 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 and mute. Okay. Now we're going to the next one. So this is verbiage for your website. You can play around with it, add your own twist to it. And then if you want to advertise in magazines or something, you could come up with an ad like this. I also do Ayurveda astrology, but you could just say Mystic Card Cosmology in the bold print, put your little picture, get a little logo, put readings, counseling, or whatever else that you might offer, and a little blurb like, this one's great, people love this, very catchy, JP Morgan, or find an Albert Einstein. Carl Jung has some amazing quotes on astrology and cards. And then just put your little website at the bottom and make it really simple. Okay, so the next slide is, what is Vidya? Vidya is a Sanskrit word, and it means the union of science, art, and magic. We don't have a word in the English language for Vidya translation because our culture doesn't believe in magic, very sadly, but India does. There is a magic component to these cards. There's a mystical component, the unseen. We're going to be working in these realms of the unseen. So Vidya is a perfect word describing what this cosmology is, the oracle, the mystical language of the cards. So I feel that originally the people that created the system were mystics, maybe even from another planet, another dimension, and they created this 52 card deck, and it aligns right with our 52-week calendar. And there are 4 suits, 4 seasons, 12 months, 12 court cards, 13 lunar cycles, 13 cards in every suit. And then when you add up all the solar values of every card, because every card has a solar value, which we'll explore in a minute, it comes to 365 and a quarter. So that 1/4 is the Joker. I got to tell you a great story about the Joker. I go to Zumba class on Wednesday nights. I love Zumba. And there's this one sort of chunky, short lady that is always going left and everybody else is going right. she's so much fun. She doesn't care. She just kind of in the back hooting and hollering and clapping, having her own party. And I love her. And she makes everybody laugh. You know, sometimes when one of the songs goes, hey, 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 she's, you know, the first one to go, hey, she yells it really loud. She's just all about the party. And finally, I got the courage to ask her what her birthday was, because I kept thinking she has to be the Joker. She's the Joker. She's here to make everybody laugh. Yes, and in fact, she was the Joker. So December 31st was her birthday. So ask people their birthday. You will be surprised at how accurate this system is. Okay, so we're going on to the next slide. What is mystic card cosmology? Well, I combine sacred geometry, and the geometry comes when you look at these cards behind me. You can see triangles, and you can do all kinds of diagonals and circles, and so there's a lot to explore regarding geometry, as well as the actual suits. The shapes of the suits are sacred, and the astrology itself involves planets. So we're going to be talking about the planets and the personality of the planets and how they affect us. And the numerology is extremely important. Each card has a number except for the face value, the face cards. And then the archetypal psychology behind these cards, especially when we're talking about the royal family. This is a true archetypal psychology for the royal family. And if you're not a royal card, you may have a karma card that is the royal card. So, and even if you don't have a karma card that's a royal card, you may have a fullness card that's a royal card. And I'll explain all these layers as we go along. All right, so we're moving on. And I find that the royal family ends up familying together. So they find each other, and mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, husbands and wives of the royal family find each other. And not always, but if it's not apparent on the first layer, like the husband might be a king and then the queen might be a 3 of diamonds, for example. If you do her fullness card or her karma card, you'll find a royal card, usually. Okay, let's look at the next slide. Here's Albert Einstein. So we're in good company. Astrology is a science in itself and contains an illuminating body of knowledge. It taught me many things, and I'm greatly indebted to it. The greatest minds in history understood the secrets of mathematics. We're going to be crunching numbers today, so get your calculators out. Pure mathematics is, in its own way, is the poetry of logical ideas. All right, Albert, let's move on. You like him. All right, before we get into what card are you, we want to make sure that you know what time of day you were born, because if you were born an hour before midnight or an hour after midnight, you are considered a cusper. And I have a daughter who's a cusper, and before I even knew all this cuspy stuff, I was trying to read her cards and I was always getting it wrong. And my daughter started doubting me and the whole system, and she just thought the whole thing was baloney, until I figured out that she's expressing through both the Ace of Diamonds and the King of Clubs. And I can usually know where to read her from by doing a rectification, which is a whole nother concept that we're going to learn. And rectification is important. That means going backwards and looking at what happened to her that week, and then checking what layer was she expressing from, the Ace of Diamonds or the King of Clubs that week prior? If she tells me how her week went, I'll know, oh, well, you were expressing from the King of Clubs, so you're probably still in the King of Clubs, and you ask a few more questions about yesterday and this morning, and then you can start reading it. It's a little more challenging to read a cusper. You have to pull up a lot of different layers to get it right, but it's better to know ahead than to get yourself completely wrong and read at the wrong layer, because reading at the wrong layer will diminish the value of the system and people won't give it any credibility. So we really have to find the layer that people are expressing at before you can really give a good reading. And that is going to be a big responsibility for you to learn. And I want to make sure I don't forget to point that out about consciousness too. And I meant to put that in this slide show, but I forgot. So maybe I talk about it now. It might be the right time now. So because reading a cusper is also finding the layer in which they're expressing. So we're all expressing from many layers at once, but the main layer, the most potent layer, is the one we're going to read from. So there will be people, and I'm going to give an example. One of my clients would come for 4 years almost every week. She had a lot of money, so she could afford to do this. She was in love with a yacht racer, a sailboat guy here in Newport. And he didn't live here, but he would often come in and dock his racing yacht here, and he was all over the world, and she was in love with him, but he wasn't in love with her. So she wanted to track him. And I just thought, well, whatever, I don't mind tracking him. That's what she wants to do. That's fine. Everybody has their whatever, right? So we would track this guy every day or every week and see what he was thinking and doing and feeling, and if he was thinking of her, and I could predict when he might come back into port and when he would see her. And so that's what we did. But I can say her name because you don't know her. I'm just in case I slip up. Her name is Katie. And Katie was expressing as her queen self. So I want to explain that to you, because she's born on a 2 of Diamonds day. But when somebody drinks alcohol on a daily basis or does anything to alter their state on a daily basis, they stop expressing from their natal card, and you can't read them correctly because you're reading them at the wrong layer. It's like trying to see life on Mars, but you don't have the right lenses. There's life on Mars, but we're looking through 3-dimensional lenses because we're here on Earth. If we look through the 4th dimension, we probably see little creatures. So same thing with the cards. I was reading Katie wrong for a while because I didn't know she was an alcoholic. Now, I would know some days she'd come in and she'd be a little woozy or feeling hungover, and then I started realizing the days that she had been drinking were the days I was going to read her at her Queen of Diamonds layer. The days she wasn't drinking and she had been on a roll, she does aerobics classes and that biking stuff, spinning classes, and all these things, she was feeling like on top of her game, then I could read her at the 2 of Diamonds accurately. The only way I could know when she walked in the door is my intuition, right? I would look at her and I could kind of tell, oh, Katie's a little glossed over here. It's going to be the Queen. And the Queen is whiny. The Queen can be kind of entitled. The Queen it's really not her authentic evolved self. It's harder to read someone at the Queen level, but I was able to find her at the Queen level off and on. Every now and then when she'd show up, I just would pull the Queen, or I'd ask her, so how are you feeling today? Sometimes I couldn't tell because she's really good at covering up that she was an alcoholic. And I'd find out she was at the bar the night before. And then I would flip-flop between the 2 of Diamonds and the Queen of Diamonds. And then I'd find, I could tell where she was and what she was feeling, and the players in her life would show up, all the people, ex-husbands, all of that. I would know what layer to read her from. So not to get too complicated, but it's very important to find your own layer, your client's layer, your family's, where are they expressing from, and to know that alcohol and drugs do alter our state of consciousness, and that we don't express from our natal card, usually when we've had a little too much to drink. Every now and then it's okay, but she was truly, and she still is, an alcoholic. So she was really the 2 of Diamonds, but expressing through the Queen of Diamonds. And that's how I started getting her accurate readings, was reading at the Queen. Okay, so let's move on to the actual birth card. So I'd like to ask everybody if you know your birth card. Some of you do. Veronica does. Molly does. Heidi does. Missy. Missy, do you know yours? I'm going to unmute you for a minute. Do you know your birth card, Missy?
I do not.
What's your birthday? Do you mind if we share?
Sure, it's December 25th,
December 25th?
1970.
Okay. Oh, you're a Christmas baby.
Yes, and my time of birth is 11:15 a.m.
Okay, so you're not a cusper, so we know that we don't have to worry about reading two cards with you, but you were born on a 6 of hearts, 6 of diamonds day. So you have a natal card. In this case, you see it's the birth card, natal, birth card, same thing. I'll use them interchangeably. Excuse me. And the planetary ruling card is almost like your rising sign, and that's PRC. You see in the chart it says PRC. And the ruling card holds just about as much weight, the hiccups, as the natal card, and in some cases even more weight than the natal card. And I don't want to jump ahead too much as to why, but I will explain why later. So they both matter. The planetary ruling and the natal card matter. Okay, let's go on to the next. So now that, Missy, you know you're a 6 of hearts, your solar value is a 6 of hearts. Makes it simple for you because you're a heart girl and all the hearts are pretty much simple solar values, the actual card value. But then if, we go on past the King of Hearts, then it gets a little more tricky. So I think let's find solar values for Veronica. Would you share yours, Veronica? I'm going to unmute you.
King of Hearts.
Oh, good. Okay, you're a 13.
Yep.
And you'll get along great with Heidi because she's a king. And I find kings love each other. They just find each other. When I get a king client, I ask, give me at least 2 of your friends' birthdays, and 90% they're a king. And if they're not a king on the first layer, they're a fullness card king. And I'll tell you how to get your fullness card later. But
Awesome.
there are other layers that we have. We're multidimensional creatures. We can't be limited to one thing. One card is just too limiting for how powerful we are, which is why we have all these layers. And I'm going to explain what these layers mean and how to read them, and like when one layer might show up as opposed to another layer. There's a reason for that. So we're going to learn that as well.
It's a diamond.
King of diamonds? Say that again? Someone's talking. Oh,
I'm so sorry.
no worries.
I thought I was muted.
No worries. So we have Veronica, King of Hearts. Molly, what is your card?
I'm a 10 of hearts, so I'm a 10.
You're a 10. Okay. So I think you all understand this is pretty simple, how to find your card and then go across and find your solar value. Heidi, you're a 52. And Missy, we got you, Heidi, Molly, Veronica. Gosh, Karyn and Lori are missing. It's just so weird. Where are they? They just signed up too, so I'm surprised. You know what? Maybe they did. Maybe the invitation went to spam. Let me just check my email. And if they emailed me saying they can't find it, nope, they didn't. Huh? That's weird. Okay, so let's move on from solar values because we're going to use these solar values. These are going to be really important when we're calculating composite scores. So remember your solar value. All right, next is Mr. Carl Jung. Love this guy. I like this. In all chaos, there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order. And that's what we're going to learn in these cards. When there's a chaos, adversity, challenges, there's an order. And you can actually see it. It's almost like art therapy. You see the chaos in the cards, it makes it easier to digest, easier to comprehend and walk through the fire just because you see it. And you understand it. With the understanding of it, it makes it less painful somehow. It's just the way it is. Okay, so let's go to the next. So here's required steps to do a successful reading. These are really important steps, and this is sort of the template, sort of the outline of how to be a good reader in this system. First, we always start with a prayer of protection, and I invite in everyone's ancestors that love them, that are loving, helpful, and wise. I always define ancestors. We don't want just any old ancestor that is grumpy. We want only those that are loving, helpful, and kind, and wise. And we invite, sometimes if someone's passed on, their mother's passed on, and I know who they are, the father, I'll invite specific names in. I invite the Divine Mother always. I invite the 4 archangels, and whoever else you want to work with. I invite the fairy kingdom. They like to work with me, and I like them. And I ask for the gift of prophecy, and I thank them for the gift of prophecy, actually, don't ask. And I thank them for the gift of peace of mind and the gift of clarity for both the client and myself. So we both are thankful for the gift of those 3 things: prophecy, clarity, and peace of mind, because that's usually peace of mind, the goal. When people are coming to me, they want peace of mind. After you pray, and I usually hold hands with my client when I do this prayer, I ask my client who lives in their home. This is critical, because who lives in their home are their players on their stage of life. And we need all the players on the stage of life in order to give a good reading. The reason for that is because you could misinterpret an experience in her chart for an actual person. And I've done this, I had to learn the hard way. I did a quickie reading, which I'll never do again. A quickie reading will get you in trouble. You've got to put all the players up, and it takes time to get their birthdays and put their charts up. And you might have 4 charts, or you might have 5 charts, or maybe if they live alone, it's just I'm with me and my cat. I put my cat's chart up. I don't have my cat's birthday anymore, but the other cat did. But anyways, whoever is important to you, a significant player in your life, can even be a neighbor if you're having, a court dispute, for example. You want to get that neighbor up there, because if there's a question involving the neighbor, we need the neighbor up there, as well as anyone in their work field, the workforce. So if there's a boss that's bothering them, or a colleague, we need their birth information, their chart up, so that when you're reading the client's chart, you can identify, you can say, oh, there's your neighbor, there he is. So, oh, neighbor's a 2 of diamonds. Oh, there's your 2 of diamonds sitting in Mars. Okay. Oh, your daughter, oh, she's the Jack of Hearts. Okay, she's sitting over here. And so you start to identify all the players on that person's stage of life, and you see that they're actually represented and embodied by people. You don't have to read it as the experience. For example, the 9 of diamonds is possibly the experience of a loss of job or a loss of money. But if it's the husband of the client, then you don't have to read it as the experience of they're going to lose money. You can say, oh, there's your husband in Mars. Okay, so this makes or breaks your reading. You need to get everybody up on the stage, on your screen, and get familiar with who's who. And then for the significant people, like the husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, or if, like, I've had mothers come in and they had a falling out with their daughter, and daughter's gone MIA, they don't talk, I will get that composite score. Then you want to add up the solar values between those people. So you have everyone's cards up and the solar values of the important relationships, the composite scores. So there's a lot of math involved in the beginning. It might take 10 minutes to do it all. And then you have it all laid out. I have a little yellow sticky note, and I keep all my little solar values handy on my desk. And I will proceed with the reading only after I have all the math written out, so that I don't make any mistakes, and I have as much information as possible before I start digging in and doing the almost like, I feel like Sherlock Holmes sometimes. You need all the information before you can go Sherlock around in their chart. And their chart is their consciousness. It's their their thoughts, it's their feelings. And we read from that level, the thought and feeling level. So to read the thought and feeling level properly, we need everybody that affects their thoughts and their feelings on the screen so that you don't mistake them for an actual experience of a thing. Okay, so that's very important. Collecting birthdays, creating a chart for everyone, calculating significant relationships, and then very, very important, you'll find out firsthand that some clients just come to you and say, okay, read me. Those are my nightmare clients. I'm like, really? Just read you. It's like looking at a blank slate and you're an artist and you don't even know what color to begin. Even what brush, should it be a brush or a crayon? So you need a direction, a focus, and you explain to them, if you can have 3 pressing questions that are very focused before you come to your reading, you will get a very clear result. If you come with a fluffy question, a vague whatever, then you may leave with whatever. So if someone has trouble coming up with questions, I will direct them to the many fields of living in the chart. So I will show them why it's important to have a focused question. We'll see the first section in the chart is Mercury governing siblings or communication or short trips or the head. And then we'll see Venus. And in that section, that field of living governs relationships, romance, and females. Sometimes fancy cars. If you're about to buy a fancy car, you'll see it in Venus. And then the next field of living is Mars. And in there is governing litigation, red tape, taxes, who pisses you off for the year, passion. So I'll start with that and help that person get focused. And once they understand how the reading goes, this takes 2 people to do the reading. It's a partnership between you and your client. You don't just go, oh, willy-nilly, read me. You really do need to know, do you have a question about your husband? Do you have a question about money? Are you relocating? Where do I go with this? So you find your direction, but it might take you to hold their hand a little bit. And then by the end of the session, you'll have a really productive outcome. And that's what clients pay you for. They'll come back to you again for a productive outcome. Okay, so after the session, sometimes you'll need to clear the energy. Not every client will come in kind of toxic, but there are some really heavy toxins that can be emitted during a session with somebody. And like the other day, I just felt it. My room, you could cut it. It was like pea soup. And I needed to do Palo Santos. I needed to open the windows. I did a prayer. I needed to clear it all out because I didn't even want to be in the room until it was clear. Okay, so, and that can stick on you as well. So be aware that sometimes if you haven't done a proper clearing and you're feeling depressed after a reading, it could be that you picked up on that client's energy, especially if you're an empath. Okay, what's next? Okay, so we're going to begin with the concepts and theory around numerology, the aces all the way up to the number 5. So this is in the book too. How many of you bought the book? Yeah, okay, Molly and Veronica and Missy, you did? Yeah, oh, good. Okay, Heidi has it. Good. Okay, then the book, I'm not going to bore you with all of this. I'm not going to read it to you verbatim, but just a general summary of aces are pioneers. And they are independent and they have independent behavior and thinking. And what else can I say about an ace? They're inventors and they like to start things. So they can come up with new ideas where someone else would never ever have thought of that. An ace will come up with the invention. Okay, so that's just an overview. I'll let you read more about aces and specific suits we're going to go into so you can apply the number to the suit together and put it together in your own way. But I'm breaking it down. We're going to first do the numbers and then we'll do the suits. So the number 2, I have found this to be so true. When you meet a number 2 person, no matter what their suit is, they really like partnerships. They do better when they're in a partnership, even a business partnership, or even a roommate situation, or they just need to be married. Or if they don't need to be married, then they really want a partnership in their business. Somewhere in their life, they would like another person to work with. They just feel better that way. Okay, the threes are creative. So when I get a 3 person, I know they're artistic somehow, some way, and they really need to be expressing. And the best way to counsel a 3 person is to tell them that their creativity is their gift, but on the downside, because all these numbers have a dark side and a light side, the darker side of the 3 is indecision. And I didn't tell you the darker side of the other 2, but I just have extra compassion for 3s, which is why I mentioned the dark side, because I love artists. And I see a lot of artists fall into the dark side where they're just perpetually undecided and confused. And then that blocks their creativity and they can't be the artist they were meant to be. So I give them strategies for how to not be confused and not fall into indecision. And that's where my Ayurveda comes in. I'll give Ayurvedic remedies for Vata, pacifying the Vata dosha, doing self-abhyanga, the oil massage on the skin, and eating soupy warm food, surrounding themselves with friends, getting, a daily hug, a massage if they can from someone else, structure and routine in their daily life, going to bed on time, eating the same food on time. Those are things that will keep the number 3 people in the lighter side of their card and away from the indecision. Let's go backwards for a minute. The aces, the darker side of the ace is that they could be plagued with loneliness, isolation. And some of them like to be lonely, but some of them, it's too much. They may have to experience loneliness beyond what their comfort zone is, because they are the ace, they are the number 1. So if they are expressing that they're lonely, then you can do similar strategies that I just gave you for Ayurveda to help the lonely aces stop being so lonely. And those would apply, the Vata pacifying modalities. But on the upside is that they're just independent, self-starters. They don't need anyone to tell them what to do. They usually know, where to begin. They're beginners. That's their natural MO, pioneers. And the 2s can, on the dark side of the 2, become codependent, where they need, and I emphasize need, they need another person to rely on. And we know what happens in codependent relationships. Usually somebody gets burned, or there's an unfair exchange of energy, and then that can be the demise of the relationship. But on the upside of the 2, it's a healthy, happy partnership that's mutually supportive, and the energy is reciprocal. So we go to the 3. I just explained the dark and the light of the 3. And then the 4 is solid ground. So the 4s can be stubborn on the dark side, because if you look at a table and you see the 4 legs, it doesn't shake, right? So there's not a lot of flexibility. But if you see a table with 3 legs, the wind blows, boom, it's going over. So the 4 keeps everything solid. 4 walls on a house. Imagine a house with 3 walls, kind of sketchy. So 4 walls keeps it solid. But on the dark side of solid is stubborn. So on the upside, they are rocks of Gibraltar. They're the salt of the earth. They, you can tell them anything and they don't get blown over. So that's 4. And that 4 can represent a home, actually. 4 walls, like I said, the 4 of spades is the 4 walls of a home. That's a template that you haven't decorated. That's just sort of the real estate. The 4 of hearts is representing a home that has the hearts on the walls, the curtains, the decorations, things you love. And home is where the heart is. Maybe even your husband or your lover lives with you. That is a 4 of hearts. That's the marriage card, actually. So 4s can represent family, home, stability. Now we go to 5, and the 5 is opposite of 4. So you'll notice this kind of ebb and flow, ebb and flow, ebb and flow as we climb the ladder of the numbers. So the 5 is actually windy, restlessness on the dark side. And on the bright side of the fives, they are spicy. They love variety. They'll, they're not rigid. They'll be flexible. They'll be willing to change things up. They're your friends who will say, oh, let's just roll with it. Oh, I roll that way anytime, like that. That's a 5 response. But the 4s will say, are you kidding? I need to know exactly what time you're going to be here. And there's no rolling with it. If they're on the darker side of the 4, they could be expressing from the darker side just because they're, who knows, they're cranky that day. Okay, so there we go from ace to 5. Let's go to, and 5 can be fickle too, by the way, you 5s. Fickle meaning you're so restless that you often can't make a decision. It's not based on confusion. It's just based on restlessness because you seriously mean it. I want to do this right now, but in the next moment you're like, wait a minute, I changed my mind. I'm going to do this now. So it's really hard to be in a relationship with a 5 person if you are a 4 or an 8 who also can be very rigid. You get this little 5 person who's just like, whoo, the wind, I'm going to just roll with this today. And that can blow away the 4 person who's all about, well, we got to structure this out. And what about, a plan? So it can help when you have opposites because they can attract and lighten each other up, but it can also cause, tension. So it's good to know the personalities of the people that you're working with so that you understand that if you're a 5 and you're married to a 4, you have to understand that they may not roll like you roll. Okay, so let's go on to the next 6 through 10. So the 6s can also be a little rigid. The interesting thing about the 6s and what makes them different from the 8s and the 4s, because the even numbers can be very stable, we'll say on the upside, but rigid on the downside, these even numbers. But the 6s, being an even number, actually goes backwards. So when you see a 6 person, you'll know that they're pretty stable because they're an even number, but there's something about them that they brought in with them from a past life. So 6 people bring gifts and karmas, adversities, and blessings, whatever. Could be, there's no discerning whether good or bad. It's stuff, we'll call it. You bring stuff in to this lifetime if you were born with a 6 natal or ruling or even a fullness card. So when you have a 6 person, they might be not able to roll with it again, like the 5s and the 3s, because their direction is kind of almost going backwards, almost like a retrograde, where they don't easily go forward. They don't like to move, we'll say that. Once they find a home, they usually like to stay in that home for a while. They can have relationships. So if you make a 6 composite score with somebody, then that relationship can get kind of stuck in the mud on the darker side. But at the same time, it's nice to have that tenacity because that person is probably unlikely to leave the relationship or leave their home or leave their job because their energy is very static and backwards slightly. Okay, so what else about 6s? I think that sums it up. They can bring in gifts. So for example, I don't want to make 6s sound like they're so stuck in the mud, because they can bring in so many beautiful gifts. Like Mozart, he just came in from, another life at 3 years old playing the piano. I bet if we did his cards, he'd have a 6 in him somewhere, because that was past life. He had to have learned the piano. There are people that just are born with these gifts of knowing something that is unexplainable, and they probably are the 6s. You'll find a 6 around them. All right, let's move on to the 7. So 7 is basically 6s and 7s. Let's just say this. 6s and 7s are karmic in a way. So I'm not going to talk about the planets with the other numbers right now because it goes into just, we could be here all night doing numerology. But the 6 and 7 I do want to talk about. the karma of the 6 and the 7. So I told you the 6s do come in with karma, karma meaning past action. 7s do the same. They don't necessarily bring in past action, but they come in with the Saturn flavor, and Saturn is the planet of karma. And they come in with lessons to learn about spirituality. So they may have to go through obstacles, delays. They may have a challenged life. A lot of 7s do have a challenged life, specifically so that they can learn to make lemonade out of their lemons. So they are here for evolution, for spiritual evolution. We all are, but the 7s come and they really are here to learn. They're like, okay, I'm going to do this. Give me as many lemons as you can. I'm going to make that lemonade. So 7s can be highly spiritual people because they were delivered a challenging deck of cards for their spread, their life spread. On the upside of the 7, they're so spiritual that I don't have to explain to you the bright side of being spiritual. It's just this a lot. To be a spiritual person can be a gift to whoever you're in their presence. You can help lighten them up. Okay, and then the 8s are infinity on the side. So infinity is forever. 8s have tenacity and power. And I think the Chinese government waited to have the Olympics until it was like 888, all these 8s, and like it was like 8 o'clock at night, and they wanted the Olympics to be off to a powerful start. So the Chinese people know all about numerology. So all 8s are power. And the upside of the 8, of course, is power, but on the downside of the 8 is rigidity, being very, very stubborn. Because of its infinite nature, it just holds on. It just keeps going. So it is not changeable. As a matter of fact, one of the 8s, of the 4 8s, one of them is so static that we call it one of the fixed cards. I forgot to shut my phone off. So it's a fixed card. The 8 of clubs is a fixed card, meaning it doesn't move at all, where the rest of the cards, except for 3, and the 8 of clubs is one of the 3, we'll talk about that later. All of the other cards move in a procession, and we'll talk about that procession later. And the reason we can make predictions is because of this procession. So the 8 of clubs is that card that is like the glue. It is, if you make an 8 of clubs with someone, when you do a composite score, that person, you'll have a very hard time getting rid of them. Wayne Dyer referred to soulmate material so much like the 8 of clubs is like the unflushable turd. You just can't get rid of that person. And that usually when I find out about a relationship that is just like, well, why can't you just leave that person? What is it about that person that makes it so hard for you to cut? I will usually do the math and find 8 of clubs as the composite score between the person. So that's 8. Let's go to 9. 9 is the end. So it represents endings. And the 9 people come here to learn how to let go, how to have non-attachment, and to surrender. So that's the upside to the 9. The downside to the 9 are those victims who just walk around, woe is me, how come I keep having, ending my relationships, ending of jobs, ending of homes, endings are plaguing me, poor me. Well, that's the victim of the 9. That's the downside of the 9. They really do get dealt a lot of endings that they have to learn to deal with. And the best way to deal with them is to learn to let go. That's the biggest message if you get a 9 person that you can give them, help them. And they also end up giving themselves away because 9s represent the giver of givers. The number 9, these people give the shirt off their backs until they have nothing. So I get a lot of 9s and I counsel them and say, have you any boundaries? I know you love to give just because it's fun to give. I get it. But when do you say no? And I know we all have this in us somewhere, but the 9s really, really, really love to give. They actually set themselves up. They look for opportunities and experiences where they can give because it's so much joy for them, and they only find out later that they're human and they can't give that much until they fall apart. So it feels really good for a 9 person to hear that. It gives them permission to be themselves. It gives them like, oh my God, thank God I'm not crazy. This is just what I was born with. I have to learn non-attachment. I have to learn that I can give only to a point. So that's how you counsel the 9s. All right, so 10. The 10's kind of a tricky number. It means many people, but it also has a number 1 when you add 1 and 0. So I find the 10s are a lot like the aces, and they can be independent. They usually are successful in whatever they do. It gives them power, much like the 8. So the downside of the 10, well, they can tend to overdo. Because they're so powerful, they can tend to think they are capable of being superhuman, superhero, workaholic, and burn themselves out with groups of people teaching, because of the nature of the 10. It's just usually classrooms, can be universities, group settings. People who are 10s will be drawn to this. They will be teachers, and they can tend to overwork. So on the upside, they are often the 10 of diamonds, the blessing. It's the card of the blessing. And they are go-getters and have a lot of power, much like the 8s. Okay, let's move on to the next one. And I'm going to stop here for a minute and just open it up to questions. Anybody have a question so far? I know I'm going pretty fast, but is everyone with me? Yeah. Okay, I'm looking at all your faces, making sure you're still awake. Okay, good. Oh, Veronica has a question. Let me unmute you. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
When you talk about these card numbers and you say an 8 based on your suit, is the suit the solar? Wait, the
You mean the 8 based on the number? Because we haven't gotten too much into suits yet.
Okay, but if I'm a king of hearts and I'm also an 8, would I be 8 of hearts?
No, so you're
Okay.
always going to be king of hearts, and the 8 of, what's the 8 you are?
I don't know. I just know it's an 8.
You're an 8. Okay, so you have the book. You can look in the back of the book.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
find out
Got
your
it.
ruling.
Okay.
You'll express through both. So the meaning of both those cards, the natal and the ruling, will describe you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, and I remind me, I want to send you all your life chart, your life reports, so you can learn about yourself. But I would need all of your birthdays. If you want a free life report, I usually charge $29, excuse me, but I'll just do them for you for free. If you send me your birthday and your full name, so that I have everything in one email, make it easy for me. Full name, yeah, and your month, day, and year, and I'll send you a life report. And in the life report, you'll get your natal card and your ruling card, and you'll see that you'll be expressing through both of them. They'll describe you both. Was that your question, Veronica? Yeah? Okay. Okay, so you're a king of hearts, so this is perfect. We're going right to the kings, Veronica.
Karyn,
So,
can I ask a quick question before we move
yes.
forward? I put it in the chat, but I don't know if anyone saw it.
Oh, Missy, are you reading chats? Missy's in charge of the chat room. Maybe she's not with us. I don't know.
It's just like a backtrack kind of when we were talking about how people who are intoxicated are on the queen level. Is that if they're women, or is that men and women? Oh,
good question. That I didn't mention that. It's the king of their suit if they're a man. Sometimes it's the, okay, now this is really good. This is a great question. I should have really talked about this. So it's the queen of your suit. So I'm a 4 of hearts. So the queen of my suit is the queen of hearts. So if I was drunk going for a reading, she better read me at the queen of hearts. Not like 4 of hearts, but I'm not often drunk, but anyways, I do like sake every now and then, but I'm not an alcoholic. So usually read pretty clearly at my Four of Hearts. For a guy, this is where it gets tricky. It could be a king or it could be a jack. So I will usually know if it's entitlement and ego. I will say the king. He thinks he's all that. So he would be, having a one too many at the bar, and then comes to me for a reading. Or the girlfriend is trying to read a boyfriend, and I'm trying to read the boyfriend with the girlfriend. The boyfriend may not be there, but the girlfriend comes and says, I want to understand my boyfriend more. As a good reader, I'm going to find out where the boyfriend is expressing from. What layer is, okay, he is a 6 of diamonds, but she's going to tell me about his personality, what he's done. And say, for example, I hear, oh, he's cheating on me, lying, lots of betrayal, and he blames me for everything, turns things around. He's not accountable. He's pointing at me and projecting. I'll know he's probably a jack. Okay, so the jack is the younger boy, the immature boy who just hasn't grown up because he just wants what he wants. He wants to have a harem of women. He wants to do anything, there's no rules that apply to him. But then if I get a guy who's, she describes him more elite, more like entitled, more like, it's hard to describe. This is usually not much of a difference between jack and king, but I just go with the feeling level. If they're a little more mature, but they're acting like not blatant hoodlum, not a blatant obvious cheater, they're a little more intelligent about it and can be egomaniacs, but in a more royal way, kind of like, I usually find the upper echelon men who are like politicians or lawyers, or lawyers can be jacks too, captains in the Navy specifically. You can sort of play with that and jump back and forth between jack, king, if you don't know until you feel comfortable at the layer that they're probably expressing from, and then stay there for a while. Okay, does that make sense? Did I make any sense on that? Say yes.
Yes, that was great. Thank you.
Okay, good. Did you have a question, Veronica? No, okay. Okay, good. So here are the archetypes by Carl Jung. The contents of the collective unconscious are archetypes, primordial images that reflect basic patterns that are common to us all and which have existed universally since the dawn of time. So I have found it really interesting that I can almost tell a jack because they're so almost, what's the word when you caricatures? They're classic, almost cartoons. I met a jack once, and I dated him for 4 years. And the moment I met him, I knew he was a jack simply because of how he introduced himself. And I usually can tell it, when I meet a jack, because they speak from one side of the face. So I should say that there are 3 one-eyed, well, 2 one-eyed kings and 2 one-eyed jacks, right? So king of diamonds and jack of spades and jack of hearts. Okay, those are the 3, actually. Those are the 3 that are the one-eyed. And the one eye is when they talk to you kind of like that. And like I like watching TV. Sometimes you can tell the politicians who are talking and they're up here with like one side of it and the other side's down here. Their face is not symmetrical. And they might even be looking at you like this with one eye the whole time. These people aren't honest. So this guy introduced himself, walked over to me from the other side of the room. I was with my realtor about to sign a lease, and he was living upstairs, and he wanted to introduce and meet his neighbor. So he walked over to me sideways, and he with his shoulder like this, walking toward me with the shoulder leading and the one eye leading and the one arm out to shake my hand. And I knew that he was a Jack because he didn't come on to me like full, here I am, 2 eyes, 2 shoulders, hello, I present myself fully, I have nothing to hide. Instead, it was that sort of sideways. And I'm not saying all Jacks are bad, don't get me wrong, or all King of Diamonds are bad. They have the potential to be, and we all do, but they have it a little bit more because they're so intelligent. And the intelligence sometimes can give rise to being narcissistic and sociopathic. So they've learned how to play the system really well, and that's how they do it. They're players. And not all of them, the ones that have chosen not to evolve, the ones that don't care so much about truth and honesty and, you know, all the yamas and the niyamas. If any of you have done yoga, that's just sort of, they don't care about that. They care more about survival of the fittest, us against them. And that's their MO, their internal dialogue is divisional thinking. And they will not be trustworthy. So I've met some Jacks that have actually evolved, and they are no longer one-eyed Jacks or one-eyed Kings, and rare and few far between. And usually it's female, they're female. Not a lot of men, I hate to say that, but you know, some have. Just a heads up when you meet one. Now the Kings also have a royalty about them. They have a square jaw, and they I don't know, this like almost like study the way the Kings look on the cards. They have like a square face that has a presence, like I'm here and fully here, and power. And I just somehow, I can't explain it. Sometimes the Kings, I just know when I'm in the presence of a King. It's the way they are. They embody all the cards in their suit. So the King of Clubs will embody all the clubs, and the King of Diamonds will embody all the diamond cards, and the King of Spades embodies every card, imagine. So they can get very impatient, and I usually can tell right away when I'm with an impatient person and they're really intelligent, and I'm asking, well, could you say that again? I didn't get that. And they're like, what? You didn't get that? Chop, chop, off with your head. And I'm like, whoa, I'm in the presence of a King. And this King is, you know, gets things really quickly, not always very patient. Not all Kings are like that. The King of Clubs are very loving, patient providers, family type of Kings. But the King of Diamonds can be a bit dictatory, especially if with free will, they've chosen not to evolve. So I can usually tell if I'm in the presence of a King, and then I can also tell if I'm in the presence of a Queen man. A Queen man, for me, can be very tricky. How do I explain this? So a Queen man is usually, I spot them right away because they're very handsome. Okay, so they have a feminine quality. They can be nurturing, and they can have, you know, just the right color clothing matched up, just stepped out of GQ. They, you know, they're manicured, and they have a sexy kind of way, and they're really intelligent. Okay, and then they can, after you get to know them, be emotional. So I've noticed a lot of King men can actually have some gender confusion. Not all, but they can maybe be bisexual, maybe they're completely gay. Not always, but I've seen a lot. So, I mean, you even know, I mean, it's just statistics. Those beautiful men, they're too beautiful to be straight, too beautiful to be true. They're usually gay. So they're usually queens. So they could have a hidden queen in them too. If you did their natal card, got their ruling card, there could be a hidden ruling queen. Or when you do the fullness and add the 2 solar values of the natal and the ruling, there's your queen. Those hidden queens are the ones you're going to watch out for, because they come out and queen you when you're least expecting it. And they can be just drama when you're, having a male queen friend. It can be a lot of fun if you keep your distance and just keep it a light, fun friendship. You can have a lot of laughs. They're funny, smart, charming. They'll want to shop with you. They'll want to talk with you like a girlfriend, right? But they can also have drama. There's drama. If you're in a relationship, one that is heterosexual, there's some drama. You just know right off the bat you're in a relationship that could cause more drama than you're comfortable with. And it can be also because they're maybe gender confused and haven't come to terms with it, and that's hard for them. They can be emotional train wrecks because they're not sure why they feel this way. They don't understand that they have a queen inside of them. So they're walking around life a bit confused, and I have a theory about queen men, and I'm going to share it. Is a lot of them are the serial killers. Hate to say that, because a lot of them hate women because they haven't come to terms with it, and they're so intelligent, especially the Queen of Clubs, because clubs represents the intellect. They are so intelligent, they can be serial killers and never be caught. So intelligent, but they have trouble expressing their emotions, emoting, and they have drama, but they could be blocked. They are emotional train wrecks, not sure how to express who they are. So I've had the secret desire to maybe it's crazy desire, but track the what do you call the serial killers. Like the police are looking for them. I'm like, wow, I bet he's a queen. I can find him, and get the birthday. And if it's between 6 potential prospect killers, I could probably find the killer by getting the birthday. And of the 6, whoever that queen is probably the one. So that's just sort of my, we all have a thing, and that's my thing. I like to explore that, find birthdays when I read the news and find out why, that person may have shot innocent kids in a high school, or I like to get the birthdays. And I found a lot of the royal family are the ones that lose their mind, go lunatics, that go Lulu and start shooting because there's an entitlement there, or if it's a male, it's a queen man who's just lost it. So there you go with the royal family. And I don't mean to talk negative about them, because a lot of them are really wonderful, kind people. And this is where free will comes in. And some of them don't know that there's free will, or how to even help themselves evolve, because no one showed them yoga or meditation techniques or breath work, or how to talk therapy to someone, or they just are lost, and then they're dangerous because they're so intelligent. So it wouldn't be so dangerous if they weren't so intelligent. That's where I'm going with that. So a lot of them run their own companies. They're SCOs. They're president of states. They're president of countries. They're top dogs. So, but we know a lot of kings, like King Henry, crazy. So a lot of them are debilitated kings or debilitated queens. They're not playing with the full deck. Pardon the pun. So, okay, let's look on to the next one, royal family. Okay, so the Jacks are creative, youthful. They're a lot of fun. I say they're the best lovers in the deck. They're so charming that for women, they can charm the pants off a woman. So be careful. All my female clients, I warn them, they're so charming they get what they want. So be careful when you meet a Jack. Don't fall for it right away. They can win debates. They can be cunning. They can be clever. They can be great artists because they're so creative. They're basically ageless. They like to never grow up, the Peter Pan syndrome. So they're a lot of fun to meet. And once you start recognizing them, you'll be able to see them more and more in the day as you go around. Like, that's a Jack. Oh, that's not a Jack. And yeah, they're easier to track than queen women. I have a hard time finding queen women. Sometimes after I get to know them and I haven't asked their birthday, I can figure it out, but they're not the easy ones to figure out. The kings I can tell pretty good, male and female. The jacks, male and female, I can also detect pretty quickly without the birthday, but the queen females, harder to detect, because a lot of women play from their queen self, because a lot of women can be, there can be a lot of catty women in the world, unfortunately. And they can not express from their authentic natal self. They can start expressing from the queen self. So I can't always know what their birth card is, but I can tell a queen man, like I just explained to you. Okay, so let's look on for the next one. Queen man. Okay, special family of 7. This is a good time to talk about it. So there are 3 fixed cards and 4 semi-fixed cards. That makes 7. And these cards, the 3 I'm talking about, just stay still. They're the anchors of the whole matrix. Behind me, you see all these cards behind me? This is the life spread. That's the spirit spread. These are the 2 important matrices of the system. They're the templates of the system. And there is a procession and an order in which the cards proceed, so that we can make this a calendar and predict time. But there are 3 cards that just don't proceed. They don't have a procession. They hold space for the whole world. And that's the Jack of Hearts, the King of Spades, the 8 of Clubs. And they need to anchor the rest of us that are butterflying around them. They are the proverbial earth anchors. And for example, IBM will fire 50 people except for 1, and that 1 person will be one of these 3 fixed cards. They usually don't get fired. They usually don't move a lot. They usually do same in their life. They stay in the same home, same relationship, same, unless there's a 5 behind them that makes them a little fickle and gives them a little wind. There's some movement there, but usually the fixed cards stay still. And they're great go-to people when you have a crisis. You can call them. They usually answer and don't get shaken. So the other cards, let's go on, are the 2 of Hearts, Ace of Clubs. And the reason I say them together is because they're twin cards. So the 2 of Hearts is a twin card to the Ace of Clubs. And they proceed where the other 3 don't proceed. These 4 proceed, but they only proceed within each other. They flip-flop like this in the procession. So one year it'll be the Ace of Clubs, the next year will be the 2 of Hearts, and then it goes on and on, like alternate like that when you look at their cards. And then the 7 of Diamonds and 9 of Hearts are twin cards as well, and they flip-flop back and forth between each other. And I've seen a lot of husbands and wives that are these cards, and they get along great. They're soulmates. The husband will be the 2 of Hearts, the wife will be the Ace of Clubs, or the 7 of Diamonds is the girlfriend and the 9 of Hearts is the boyfriend. I've seen sisters like this too, where they just love each other. These 2 sisters came in. They were so sweet. They were the 7 of Diamonds, 9 of Hearts sisters. And one of them paid, for the other, and it was a gift, and it just warmed my heart to see sisters love each other so much. Especially because I have one sister that we just don't get along, but I have another sister that I get along great with. And she is actually the same card I am. She's a 4 of Hearts, and we get along great. And you'll find that in families. And notice your whole family. It's really fun to do. And it's part of your homework tonight when we finish is if you have energy, and if not, then sometime this week, pull all your family members' cards up and put them all out in front of you, and notice that a lot of you have the similar cards. And we'll go deeper, and we'll do the fullness cards with composite scores. And if there isn't a lot of similarity right off the bat on the first layer, which is natal and ruling, you probably find the similarity on the fullness card. And the fullness card is really represents a past life card. Past life, how do I explain it? It's a piece of ourselves that comes in from the past that that we resonate with in this lifetime. Okay, so let's go on. Excuse me. This is the grand solar spread, and it is the spirit spread, I call it, or heaven's spread, and it is static. And find yourself on the spread, and you'll see what planetary line you're in. It's pretty important to know where you sit and who's in the crown. We've got the king, the queen, the jack of spades, and looking at, okay, so Heidi sits here in heaven's spread, and we have Veronica, the king of hearts. Where are you? You sit here in the Venus line. This is Venus and Uranus. And Heidi, you're in the Jupiter line. And Molly, what was Molly? Molly, what's your card?
10 of hearts. So it looks like Venus and Jupiter. Or no, Venus and
Mars.
Mars.
Yep. And who else? Missy, you're a 6 of hearts. So you're in a Mercury line with Uranus, Mercury-Uranus line. And who else? Did I miss anybody? Nope. Okay. So does someone have a question? Nope. Okay. So we're going to learn about the planets. So you'll learn about the line that you're sitting in. And this is your spirit kind of soul, where you sit on a soul level. It's in perfect harmony, coherent. Well, we're going to go to the earth spread now. And this is static as well. The earth spread is a bit mumbo jumbo. As we know, it's a bit of chaos and what's the word? Maya, illusion. So let's go find that. Okay, here's the earth spread, or some people call the mundane or the life spread. They're all the same: mundane, earth, or life. Either of those three apply to this template or spread, and you can find where you are in this one. So here's 6 of hearts is Missy, and Heidi. So Heidi doesn't move. She's the king, and a fixed card, so she doesn't share in the procession. She's an anchor. And then we look at the 10 of hearts. Where did it go? Here. It's in the Jupiter line and the Mars line. And who else is with me? Heidi, Missy, Molly, Veronica. What were you again? King of Hearts. Oh yeah, so you're in the Mars and Venus line. Okay, so why is this important? Well, you'll see the little cards underneath it. Like, for example, who was it? Veronica, are you the king, Veronica? The king. Okay, so the king is renting the 2 of clubs. See the 2 of clubs underneath it? I call it renting, but really, who owns this specific spot? You see, this is like real estate. This is an actual property, and it is owned because in the earth spread, we're borrowing property. We're renters in the earth spread. Really, we belong in heaven. We're from heaven. Heaven is the truth of all of it. It's the coherent truth of life. But here we are having this earthly experience and immersing ourselves in the Maya of it all, just so we can have the experience. So we need to learn who is our landlord. Whose house are we renting? Well, Heidi gets to rent her own house. Veronica rents the 2 of clubs, and I'll explain that 2 of clubs. Look at this spot now, Veronica, or everybody, check this spot here. This is the Mars spot with the Mercury spot. Now I'm going to go back one, and here we go to the same spot, Mars and Mercury. There's your 2 of clubs. The 2 of clubs owns this piece of land. Does that make sense? He's the landlord, and he's letting the King of Hearts rent his house. There's a lease between them. So whoever's house you're leasing, you're going to have some effect, some flavor of the landlord in the house, because that landlord put the doorknobs on, painted the color of the house, designed even the house potentially, maybe even has his furniture in the house, and you have to pay him every month. And he may or may not fix the heat if it breaks, or this is, landlords matter. And in this case, they matter as well. So the King of Hearts and the Two of Clubs have a lot in common. And to learn more about the King of Hearts, you would also want to study the Two of Clubs, because there's a little piece of you that is going to be like your landlord that will express through you, because you'll take on some of that. You'll be taking on some of whatever's in the house. Okay, let's move on. And that's kind of a difficult concept, but I think, did everyone understand that? Do you want to go back and see which house you're renting? I think the 10 of Hearts is renting the Jack of Clubs, and the 6 of Hearts is renting the 4 of Clubs. And did I miss anybody? King, Jack. I think I got everybody, right? Yeah. Now I can just pause for a minute here and make sure I'm not losing you, because now we're going into some really intricate concepts. Does anyone have a question about these two spreads, the meaning of them, and renting the house renting thing?
How would this come of like benefit in a reading?
Right, so that's a good question. So now you have this knowledge. How do I actually use this knowledge so you have a place to store it in your head? Good question. So you would need this information, because if you're reading the King of, say you have a client who is a 10 of Clubs client, natal card, but she's got a boyfriend issue, and I pull the boyfriend up. The boyfriend, he might be whatever card, doesn't matter what his card is, but I want to know how the boyfriend is seeing his girlfriend, who has come to me because this issue. She and I are talking, and he may not have any idea that she's with me talking, and I need to know how he feels about her so I can give her some answers. So I look in his chart. I pull his chart up, and I look for how he sees her. So I'll know if he's seeing her authentically, or if he is only seeing her through karma clothes. And so these, or the landlord clothes. So the landlords are sort of our karma cards. Well, I'll just say it straight up. They are our karma cards. So we have a past life association with our landlords. So I've often seen that the girlfriend, who's a 10 of Clubs, is showing up in her karma clothes, which I call the Jack of Spades, which is the landlord of that house she's renting. So I'm like, well, hey, your boyfriend Mike is not seeing you as your 10 of Clubs. He's seeing you as your Jack of Spades. Then it's up to me to determine why. Is it because she's being dishonest and I need to know if she's cheating on him? Because the Jack of Spades is the white collar thief, and that may be why he sees her as such. Or is he just simply blind, not paying attention to her, and projecting what his fairy tale is of what she should be, and then she would show up, but in her karma clothes, the inauthentic self. Does that make sense? Yes. So that's how I can start with understanding the dynamics of a relationship. In many other ways, there's this karma relationship, the landlord relationship, has so many other meanings, but I wanted to give you just one so that you could take this concept and file it in your head somewhere so that it means something and it stays long-term memory. Okay, so hold that thought, because it's going to get bigger and bigger with these karma cards. Now we go to the suits. The suits are fascinating. I see them as clothing. They are something that can be changed, and I only mean they get changed in someone else's cards, not necessarily your own self. I don't take my heart clothing off on the 4 of Hearts and all of a sudden put my spade clothing on. It happens through consciousness, through action, through thought, and through the perception of someone else. So that's why it's so important to have everybody's charts up on the screen. So I will know. Okay, I'll give you an example. Sometimes stories really take this to the next level and get you to long-term memory. There was a guy that I thought was cute, and I had an attraction 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago, I don't know. And he ran a business very similar to mine online, selling massage equipment, and we became friends, and he was a queen. And we were going to do some kind of reciprocity where he was going to sell my products on his website and I would sell his products on my website. And that was the reason we were going to get together that weekend. And he was going to drive 3 hours from New Jersey to spend the weekend with me to talk about business. But there was this, I had the attraction. I wanted more. And I never said that. I just thought, well, let's explore this. And I wanted to know how he felt about me and what it would look like when he showed up. And sometimes people have an agenda and they want something from you that is, they can use sexuality or the lure of a relationship just to get the money, right? So it's good to see how you show up in their cards. So I looked at the weekend that he was coming, and I saw my card, the 4, I'm the 4 of hearts, but he spaded me and he clubbed me. And I knew that he had no interest in romance and that he was kind of flirting with me just to come up to I get it now. He liked my tent, my steam tent. He wanted to sell my steam tent. And there was no one else making the steam tent, and it was going to be a big profit and whatever. So before he even came up, I knew what the relationship and that weekend would look like, so that I wasn't going to get blindsided and I wasn't going to have my heart stomped on or get let down in any way. I was fully prepared, and I knew the flirting was just superficial. And I still liked him. I still was pleasant. We still had a good time, but I knew it was completely platonic with an agenda for business. So this is why it's important to understand the suits and the meanings of the suits and check to see how people see you. And then you can know how they feel about you, how you're showing up. If you're showing up, say Heidi shows up as the King of Hearts. And say, for example, we're going to go to Costa Rica together for a week. I will look at my cards and look at her cards, and I'll pull up her chart and see myself in her chart, how she's seeing me. She's seeing me as my 4 of hearts. She's seeing me as my karma closed. Did she put some spades on me? Or how am I seeing Heidi? Oh, King of Hearts. Oh, her 5 of clubs, authentic self showed up. So, for example, leave it at that. If I see Heidi coming toward me with the King of Hearts, then I will probably know that there's a lot of love there. Okay, so I know that we're going to have a good time. Now, on the opposite side, there's this, not to confuse you, it can even be overly emotional. She might get overly, there could be drama. So, hearts aren't always good. We know that there's love and then there's crazy love. So we want to make sure that there's no crazy love going on. And I mean crazy love meaning like, someone puts you on a pedestal and there's a long way to fall. So you want to keep it real. So if it's just sweet love that's really pleasant to be with, that's great. But there's other things to look for that can give indicators of something that is over the top, too much heart, too much emotion, and then you might be in trouble. There could be some drama, crying, tears. The emotions from the heart are not just love. So you look at the other cards in the chart that would tell the story, and we call this confluence, the concept of confluence, that all of this tells a story. It's a holistic way of reading the cards. But these suits tell me a lot. For example, if my daughter wants to go have sushi with me one night and my daughter's Ace of Diamonds, and that night, Friday night, she's showing up in my cards as Ace of Spades, I'm going to ask her to do it on Saturday night instead, because it's going to be a lot of karma. Spades are karma. And you don't want to be with someone who spaded you. Often spades can even be death. So I can, when I'm looking to see if there's a window of death coming for somebody or sickness, their card will show up with spades on them. So if they're a 6 of clubs, but I see them with 6 of spades showing in everybody's chart. So the grandmother may pass and I see 6 of spades, but she's a 6 of clubs, 6 of spades at the same time in everybody's chart, then I know she may have passed, along with some other indicators, not just that, but that's a big one. So the suits are very, very important, and they can change in other people's perception of who you are. So this is a one really good way to know how to navigate your life and how to make plans and how not to, make plans. For example, how to change if your daughter showing up who's the Ace of Diamonds with the spade clothing, why not just make it another day or another week where she's showing up in her authentic self, the Ace of Diamonds. That's what you really want, is people authentic. When you're going to meet with them and you're making a plan, you should see them with their authentic clothing. It's more comfortable. There's no karma. There's nobody being victim. All of that goes behind you. Sometimes we can't control these things, but if you have control and you can choose a day, you want to choose a day that you're visiting that person, that they're in their authentic self, in your chart as well as in their own. Okay, so let's look at the heart suit. It is the winter season, the water element, and it governs intuition and emotion. Okay, the spade suit is the summer season. It represents all the elements. So it embodies the hearts, the clubs, and the diamonds. They are the great sages of the deck. They represent old age. They represent Saturn, which also represents old age, hard work sometimes, and wisdom. So spades can represent death or illness, like I said, and endings. And like I said, hard work, like almost blue collar in some way. All right, let's go to the next one. Spades. Oh, did I skip over the diamonds somehow? Oh, I skipped over the clubs. Spring season, fire element, passion, intelligence. And you see I'm comparing these to the tarot. It was the playing cards first, and then it gave rise to the tarot. And the reason that the playing cards had to be redeveloped, they had to be turned into tarot, was because they were outlawed. At some point, they were so powerful, the information was so powerful and accurate that it threatened the power of kings and queens and government and churches. And the mystics and the high priests were taking over because people were coming to them for guidance, not the kings and queens. So this was forbidden, which is why it was a forgotten, lost language and a mystical calendar. And anybody caught with a deck of cards was persecuted. Then they later brought it back. Well, of course, they pretended to be playing games like Go Fish, War, Crazy Eights, Bridge, Poker. All those were just games to keep the deck alive. It was a ploy. And it was a great ploy because they stayed alive through games, and now people still think it's just games, but it's not. It was a mystical calendar that was forbidden. And then somebody came up with, well, let's just change it up a little. We can still make it an oracle, but we'll add the major arcana. The Lover's card, the Fool, all those major arcana, whatever. I can't think of it. The Lion, the Empress, Temperance, all of the major arcana were added in, and they still got to keep the cards, but they changed it. They called the wands the clubs, the cups, the hearts were changed to cups. So it was disguised very cleverly. Do you understand? Everyone gets that? Yeah. Okay. Then the diamonds are the pentacles. They're the summer. Oh, this is the fall. I think I made a mistake. Hold on. Spring, summer, winter. Yeah. So the pentacles are the fall, and I need to change this. Okay, fall season. Metal, ether, air, and they represent values and money. So I can know if somebody, so for example, I had a client who met this guy. She was crazy about him she wasn't sure how he felt about her. She came to me and said, how come I really like this guy so much, but not feeling the reciprocation? I mean, he likes me, but I just, something's off. What is it? And I'll look at his chart and I see her as, say, she's the 8 of clubs, but in his chart, she shows up as 8 of diamonds. What am I going to think? He's after her money. He put the diamonds on her. He didn't put the spades on her. Doesn't care about work. You know, he doesn't care about power. He wants the money. Well, money is power. I guess I can't use that as an analogy, but when someone puts diamonds on you, there's usually a money issue going on, or there's an ethical issue. Like they may not see eye to eye with the way you see the world, and there may be a debate in store, which that can be uncomfortable. And then you may even see yourself in spades later, because after a debate, if you didn't win, you get spaded. So I have to be honest with my female clients and say, listen, this guy is after your money. And then she'll be like, oh my God, I knew it. How did he know I have money? Oh my God, I have an inheritance. Did he find out? And then he doesn't have a job, and he's a gold digger. And so I'll get the whole story and it all starts to make sense. But I didn't know any of this until I saw the diamonds on her, when he should have been seeing her as the 8 of clubs, her true self. Okay, moving on. I think that I made myself clear. Am I making sense? I just want to look at everybody. Yeah, everybody's with me on this. Okay, good. All right, so you can see how important this is. You can see how you can prevent yourself from getting blindsided or even used or treated poorly. Or, you know, you can prevent deception. You can prevent stepping into a hornet's nest. So by just getting someone else's birthday, finding out their card, and looking at the way they see you in their cards, it is so telling. And the best thing I've found for birthdays is mylife.com. So I recommend, if you're going to do this seriously and you really, you know, take this this system seriously, I would recommend, membership is $6 a month, I think, for mylife.com. And you can get anyone's birthday on mylife.com, as long as you have their spelling of their name, and it helps to get the location, because sometimes there's a lot of John Smiths. So if you know John Smith lives in Sacramento, California, then you can find him in an approximate age, then you can get a birthday. Sometimes the birthdays are off, and I've noticed if they don't have someone's birthday correct, they default to the King of Spades birthday January 1st. If you see someone's birthday January 1st, I would take that with a grain of salt, because that's usually the default birthday for some reason. Okay, so let's go to personality of the planets. So learning about the planets, because this is really astrology. We're doing astrology here as well as numerology and the archetypes, looking at the royal family and looking at the suits and how the suits play out with their own personalities. So the planets also are personalities, and they can grip us. So why do they grip us? The word for planet in Sanskrit is graha. Graha means to grip, and the planets have a grip on us, and the way they grip us isn't a malicious grip per se, but it's to keep us on our blueprint, because we all have a blueprint, we all have a chart, we all came here for a reason, and it's not rigid. We have free will within the grip, but the planets will help us stay on track. So if one of us kind of falls to the wayside, gets distracted, we're not in our dharma anymore, and we're lost, the planet will come along and grip us, shake us up a little, and remind us through adversity usually to get back on track. So that's what the word planet means. So you can understand the nature of these personalities. They literally are like people, deities, and they are assigned to help us. So let's talk about, let's see, we only have 15 minutes left, and I really wanted to show you the coronavirus in the US chart because it's kind of fun and it's like the big thing of the moment. So we could do this on Thursday and talk about planets then, and we could do a quick, what do you call it, case study on the US chart and the coronavirus. I think we should do that. That might make it more interesting. Would you all like to look at that? Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, okay. Let's pull that. So we're opening the chart of the US born on July 4th, right? USA, here it is, July 4th, 1776, bam. So guess what the chart of the US is? The Jack of Diamonds, King of Clubs. So yes, United States is extremely royal, can be mischievous like the Jacks are, can be deceptive, can be clever, very intelligent and charming, and its ruling card, a king. So no wonder we're, number one in the, if you look at all the other countries, China is 8 of diamonds, I believe, so they're right up there in the crown line. So it's kind of fun to look at all the countries and see all the main players and the power. Now we're going to look at the coronavirus, and I'm going to show you how I got that. Just a second. I sent this all to you in your email. This is Tom Morell's version of the letter values, because we just did solar values. We found out your card solar value. This is a way to get letter values. So we're going to do the letter value of corona, because every letter holds a frequency, and then when you put them all together, we get the frequency, one card. So corona virus, Queen of Clubs. So if we don't give it a capital 2, so let's say Queen of Spades. So so it can play back and forth between the Queen of Clubs and Queen of Spades. It has 2 frequencies because of the, some people capitalize it and some people don't. So it will have 2. And I'm writing this down. Okay, Queen of Clubs, Queen of Spades. So we have in the year spread, and it's almost the birthday of the United States. Hold on. Nothing so far showing up, right? So the main player, Queen of Clubs, Queen of Spades, isn't really showing itself just yet. So just give me a second. Oh, yeah, there it is. So here it is. This is the Queen of Clubs in the Cosmic Reward section. So, oh, and here it is too. Okay, so if we go to the landlord, see this Queen of Clubs? It's very small, but this is the actual location property. The on the spirit spread, heaven spread, the 5 of clubs is renting the Queen of Clubs. And that happens March 22nd. Do you see this right here? So March 22nd, 2020, United States enters into the proverbial real estate of the coronavirus, the Queen of Clubs. And the 5 of Hearts is proceeding through that house. It's a renter. It's 52 days of renting. And these are all 52-day sections, the 7 52-day sections that come to 365 days in the year. So March 22nd, this coronavirus is going to really start to come front and center. It already has, but I mean, it's going to get bigger. For 52 days, we have a 5 of Hearts. And now that tells me the 5 of Hearts is, remember I told you it's restless, it's windy, it's moving, it's fickle, and it spreads because wind blows. And 5 of Hearts can often mean wind between the hearts, meaning people can feel disappointed, grief, sorrow. It's actually a divorce indicator. The card 5 of Hearts and 9 of Hearts are divorce indicators. Now, So we're actually divorcing ourselves from even work. Some of us are sequestered, can't even get to work, divorcing ourselves from going grocery shopping, and we're isolating. So there's a division happening in our country and in China and in Italy and all these places that have been sequestered. And if you look underneath the 5 of hearts, you see the 7 of diamonds. This is the vertical position. The top row is the direct position. We're going to talk about that Thursday. But just for this case study, I'm just going to run through it quickly. For 52 days, we have a direct 5 of hearts renting the coronavirus house, the Queen of Clubs. And we have the 7 of diamonds in the vertical. So remember the 4 cards in the fixed family? They were both twins, the 2 of hearts, Ace of Clubs, 7 of diamonds, 9 of hearts. So when we see the 7 of diamonds, we're also seeing the 9 of hearts. The 9 of hearts is the end. It represents grief, divorce, and loss. So our country is going to go through a loss. And we can see the loss here with the diamonds and Jupiter, because Jupiter right here governs the whole year. We only have 1 Jupiter. So the diamonds, we're going to take a financial hit. We already have. I think the airlines, like millions of dollars they've lost. And we have the card of health as long range for the whole year. 4 of spades is the card representing health, and it's the one long range card that we have. So this is grief that we're about to step into for 52 days. And then we go to, this is Uranus, by the way, unexpected event. And then we have Neptune here, and we can put the Queen of Clubs on top of the Neptune card, because this Queen of Clubs, this position here, the X card, or we call the cosmic reward, will flavor the very last section of the year, the Neptunian section, 6 of diamonds. So 6 of diamonds can mean debt, can mean we're going into a debt. So it goes backwards. You know how we go backwards with 6s? 6s means financially we're going backwards because it's a diamond. Now we're going to read this also through the planetary ruler, King of Clubs, and we can get information here. Okay, so I haven't opened this in a while, so I'm just starting to remember what I saw before. I went right to the next, I went after the birthday and spent most of my time there. So I haven't spent a lot of time prior. So, because this was like when it wasn't a big deal, I thought, well, it's not going to hit us till after the July 4th or whatever. So I haven't really gone here yet. So this is all new. Hold on. Okay, so the Jack of Hearts is that card of the sacrificial lamb. So there will be a lot of people like first defenders, or what are they called? Rescue people. So the Jack of Hearts is that proverbial fireman that comes to the door and takes the cat out of the tree. Will risk his life to help someone. So there's a lot of that energy that's going to be around. Those people, those heroes that will risk their life to help people. The doctors at the hospitals, they are all Jack of Hearts. I mean, imagine being a doctor at a hospital right now and you get someone with coronavirus coming in. That, to me, he gets a Purple Heart. So I'd want to quit. I quit being a doctor during coronavirus. But they are there, and those are the Jack of Hearts of the world. And the Jack of Diamonds is going to be clever ways. So I just heard that they gave London millions of dollars to figure out what do you call an inoculation for this. So we need as much Jack clever energy right now to get the remedy. So that's why we have a lot of Jacks coming up, because we are needing that Jack energy for a resolution, for a solution. Has to be clever. Okay, so now we go to the 7 of Spades, which is, Spades is another very bad health card. And it's all the odd, we're going to talk about this, we'll do a whole series on health. All the odd numbers, ace, 3, 7, these are with spades. Spades represent health. these are challenges. So we know that the 6 and the 7 bring in Saturn, challenges, and karma. So this is very challenging, and we have a 6 right on top of it, the 2 Saturn cards sitting on top of each other. Okay, now we're going to go to the birthday, and that's the next year, and this is where I saw the coronavirus in a big way. And we're in the birth of it, but just a minute. Oh, you know, here it is. So, you know how I told you should get all the players on your stage of life before you do a reading? For me, the player for me was my father and my sister who live in New York City. So I got the birthday of New York City, and I'm not going to pull it up right now, but it's a King of Spades, New York City. I wanted to see how that was going to be affected, and it doesn't look good. It looks like New York City doesn't do very well during this time. It maybe gets hit the hardest, and I'm even wondering if it's beyond coronavirus, if there's some other thing that's going to happen to New York. Because New York, I got the birthday because I have all the birthdays in this book, and Moving to Success has everybody, all the states in the country's birthdays. And it's a King of Spade, and it goes to Saturn with the 8 of Hearts, which is drama here. And when I pulled the New York chart, I looked at the end of March in the New York chart, and it looked like massive transformation and crisis happening. Didn't look good. Had the Ace of Spades, had 9 of Hearts, not good for 52 days, starting April for 52 days. So when I am looking at the United States chart, I'm looking also for the New York King of Spades. It'll show up in the United States chart because it's kind of like one of its babies. It's like a baby. It's a player on its stage of life. So New York holds a frequency of King of Spade, and it is here in Saturn, the hardest section of the year. So New York gets hit the hardest because Saturn is our hardest time in our life, and we all have to go through 52 days of Saturn every year, and it's with the 8 of Hearts, which is death through drama. So we have death indicators, and we'll go through that later in the we have 4 seminars. So the next 3, we'll talk a little bit about types of endings and deaths, but this particular ending is a dramatic ending, and it doesn't look fun, and it's in Saturn. So now I'm going to go to the planetary ruling. See, the Queen of Spades here is also with the 6. Okay, which is Saturn. And now, and here we go, the rebuilding of New York. So I feel like New York will have to get fixed because this is 2021. We're in May 2021. I went after. So we took July 4th to July 4th, 2020 to 2021. That's the birth year. And it looks like New York gets hit somehow, or I don't know if it's another 9/11 or something like that, where it has to be rebuilt. You see that ace is new beginnings with New York. Okay, or if it gets an earthquake, I don't know. So we're going to go to the planetary ruling, and here we have the coronavirus in Saturn. Saturn represents health. Whenever I get a client and their first question is, I want to know about my husband's health or my health, I go right to Saturn. That's the field of living you look at because that governs the body. Now we're looking at the United States Saturn with the coronavirus here, 52 days of coronavirus affecting the whole year because you only get 1 Saturn for the year. And look at this Queen of Spade, which is also another frequency of the coronavirus with the death card, the Ace of Spade. Now we look at this 2 of Spade underneath in the vertical position. The 2 of Spade belongs to the proverbial blue hole, which I will talk about. You see these holes? These are portals in our template. And these portals represent exits. And the 2 of Spades is, I call it the blue hole. It's my own terminology. And that is sort of the portal that it altered states, illness, dysfunction, codependence. It's an unhealthy portal where the other portal can just be a death portal where someone has a liberated ending and they leave, or a loved one can come through that portal, give a message, a grandmother, something like that. That's the black hole portal. It doesn't have a 2 of Spades in it. But the 2 of Spade is part of the proverbial dysfunctional, unhealthy blue hole portal in the deck. So when I see the coronavirus with the 2 of spades, I know several things that we're not going to be feeling very good, a majority of people, because it's related to dysfunctional blue hole illness. And it also can mean that we're helping one another. So that we have to, because the 2 of spades is a card of friendship. And it doesn't talk about the portals in Camp's book, but I know about them. So I'm telling you about them ahead of time. But the 2 of spades friendship card means can be codependence, and it can also, because it's a blue hole card, or it can mean that someone's helping, and not always in a way where it's a mutual help. It usually can mean like the doctor is helping the patient because the patient cannot help back. So this is where we see that the medical community is going to have to step up. So this says it all right here. We can see how accurate the cards are just by looking at the United States. Okay, and I can go on. There's so many other things I could read about the United States too. Is a lot of worry with money because Jupiter is the bank, and we have the card of worry with the 3 of diamonds, and we have the ace under the 3 of diamonds, almost like a new way of a new system of money can be introduced over the next year. A new way of seeing the monetary system can be, there can be an invention of some sort because of the ace in Jupiter. Okay, now I could just keep going, and I know it's past 9, so I don't want to hold some of you up, probably very tired, and maybe I overwhelmed you, and I just want to open this up just quickly for any comments or questions for a minute or so, not too long, and I'll unmute you all. Are there any questions or comments? I'm unmuting. Yeah.
So in my belief system, I'm like kind of in denial, I guess, of what's going on. And I've thought like, oh, this will pass quickly, this will pass quickly. But what you're saying is this is not like going to be over with in a month.
That's exactly what I thought. When I went into this chart 3 weeks ago, I called my friend and I said, Mark, I mean, I just thought, this virus dies with warm weather. It's just going to be, a temporary thing. And then we're all going to be okay, like regular flu. And he didn't know what to think either. But I just remember having the same thought. Why do I see corona after the birthday? How can it continue? I don't have an answer. All I can tell you is this is what I see.
Maybe it's like the economic aftermath.
Yes.
That is going longer.
It could be that the residue of the corona has affected our country so severely, but maybe the virus itself gets impeded and stopped. I can't know, because we read at the feeling and thought level only. So how it manifests, there's the free will. We can read the frequency of how people are experiencing their life right through these cards. Whether or not the coronavirus is actually still alive and killing everybody, we can't know, but we can know that it's a residue, it's a thought in our minds, and it's in our hearts. So how it plays out is tricky. We only can know how it plays out by pulling up other countries' charts and looking at how they see the country, how our country is doing through them. And then we can also look at like states, look at how New York sees the whole country, or look at, I forgot what I was going to say. Hold on. Oh, looking at the cards within this. So like I just saw the proverbial blue hole with the Queen of Clubs coronavirus, and that made me feel like still there's some dysfunction, because I know that card is about illness, but whether it's just residual illness or current illness, I can't know. I don't know. So good question. So all I can tell you is the lesson is the 4 of spades is in the cosmic lesson right here. It's the card of health right after the birthday. So we're all learning about our health, lessons in how to stay healthy, how to boost the immune system, and how to put our health first is really what we're all learning right now from this whole thing. Okay, and what about Heidi? Did you ask the question? Someone else did. No? Who else had their hand up? Oh, Veronica.
Oh, I was just going to say that what I've been reading about the virus is that there may be a point where everything calms down, and then a number of months go by, and then it resurges, and no one will have had any sort of immunity because it hasn't been around enough. So this may be how it's playing out.
I think you could be right. I've heard that. Even a relapse, when you get this virus, you might think you're all better, and then you then you get it has a relapse nature to it, which could explain this strange conundrum of why it's still around after the summer. Yeah. Thank you for adding that. Anyone else have a question before we sign off? My cat's getting impatient. He wants me to feed him.
He's so cute.
He's so cute. I want to say hi to everybody. He's shy.
Oh.
Anyone else before we sign off? No? Okay. Well, then we will do next week. We will finish the planets, and your homework this week is to get your whole family, all the players on your stage of life, pull their cards, see yourself in their charts and you in their charts, and start understanding the relationships between you and your family, and look for similarities, like my mom's a 4 of hearts, I'm a 4 of hearts, my sister's a 4 of hearts, my other sister's 6 of clubs, my ruling card 6 of clubs, my father is the 4 of clubs, I married a 4 of clubs. Look for all of that, because it's so amazing and fascinating. It's almost genetic. All right, my friends, it was wonderful. I loved this time with you.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
We'll see you next week. Stay well.
Thank you. You too.
Be well.
You too. Bye.
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 Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Bless